Hey, Bhavesh, you've been a little
Hey,
busy.
Andy.
You've had a lot going on, man. It was great to
Having
see
fun.
you at NAB last week and good to catch up. Super excited about the piece that you just wrote and that hopefully everybody's getting ready to read. You got involved in the NASA live streaming project, and I want to learn more about it before we get into the article that you wrote for Engines of Change about it. How in the world did NASA and SVTA and you end up working on a project together?
So it was due to our friend, Rebecca Sermons now, we can call her friend. She had reached out to the industry and she was brought in to take a look at how NASA Plus does broadcasting and understanding where they need to go into the future. I think her biggest thing is always trying to be there where the audience is. And so NASA had a couple challenges inside there. And so they came to the SVTA and to JT and said, basically, I need some help. Can you help organize the folks that are part of the Streaming Video Technology Alliance and take a look at what we can do as an industry to kind of help them with all of our experience and knowledge. And so I got involved just because I was like, I've been loving NASA since I was a little kid, like most people. And I saw an opportunity, said I wanted to volunteer and I want to work on this project as well too. So I started helping Rebecca kind of organize the calls and getting the contacts with the industry the right way and kind of trying to help expose and kind of lay out what the problem looks like from an end-to-end perspective. So the challenge is, what happens when the next human being steps foot on the moon? That hasn't happened since 1969, Apollo. But that was television. And at that time, I think Rebecca and Lee Erickson, who is her technical counterpart there, said that there was about 650 million people watching it on TV.
Right. Wow.
Back then. So what happens to, how do they solve the problem for 2 years from now when Artemis 4 now, at that time it was going to be Artemis 3, Artemis 4 touches down on the moon and we get the next human being doing the Neil Armstrong moment of stepping foot on the moon again after 50 years plus. How does that get now streamed and delivered back to Earth and then distributed to everybody around there? So this is like a streaming event on the scale of what we have worked on the industry before, with the Super Bowls, with the Olympics, the cricket, IPL, things of that nature, which are going to be massive. So NASA doesn't deal with that typically, but we do. So how does the industry help them out? They don't have the budgets of large broadcasters or OTT platforms, etc. But we can help out, right? We can at least talk through all the best practices for stuff.
And there's not a lot of luxury to learn on the job the way you do sometimes with some of these events. There's only so many manned missions that you can test against. In the piece that you wrote, you sort of dive into the relationship and then you call out the fact that there's a couple of areas where the industry should really step up to help them with the next missions. What specifically came to mind? What were you thinking about that were the areas that we as an industry need to go work on?
So Kevin Coggins, who's one of the associate directors, he manages SCAN, everything, but it's the galactic network, everything, low Earth and galactic deep space network. He runs that. So he has to think about where that goes into the future. And he brought up a thought to me that I hadn't really understood what the depth was going to be. When they finally have the permanent, even the moon landing, plus in the future, they're going to have a permanent moon base there. They're going to have a laser network from the moon to Earth. And that can be, I think he's going in a couple hundred gigabits per second. So it's like, I want video everywhere.
Sure.
I want video on rovers. I want video on landers. I want video on helmet cams, etc. And I want that streamed back to Earth. That means that there's actually going to have to be an encoding data center on the moon. There's going to have to be a mini, and there already was for Artemis 2, there was a 4K encoder that they validated and tested from the moon. That's like, this is our world now, right? There was an amazing moment during the Artemis, the 24/7 stream, where I think it was Reed or maybe Commander Glover, we knew this worked.
Yeah.
But how do you go beyond that? How do you get beyond that? How do you now think through, what is it going to look like? How do you create a data center on the moon? How do you create encoding things? What are the challenges that are going to happen over there? And then you're delivering that back to Earth. From the Earth, then now what do? Now you're distributing it out. Once you get it available, how do you send it across to all the different networks that were out there who want to see it? My bigger concern for the industry that no one's necessarily thinking about is Right now, if you have an IPL or a Super Bowl, it's a lot of people are watching that, but it's also the traffic of that is impacting everybody else. So
Sure.
it's your near neighbor problem. Are you being a nice neighbor at that point? What happens when you now have a couple 100 million, if not more, concurrents watching one type of content? Everybody else who's not doing that is going to have to suffer. Are the ISPs, are the last mile folks thinking about that? What's going to happen at that time frame? I think there's a lot of problems to be solved, a lot of technology that can be brought to bear that might not exist yet. I'm just interested as my own self, curious about how to do it. I just want to kind of help people like understand the problem that's coming up.
Walk me through a little bit of the certification gap you talk about. Some of the tech that was involved here was a decade old or more. What does a modular pathway look like to get things more fast tracked, and what's stopping us? Is it bureaucracy in the government? Is it us in the industry not responding right?
I'm just going to talk about what I heard during the article's really about what I heard from the team that was on the stage. So these are,
and this was last week at NAB in Las Vegas.
Last week at NAB, Kevin, what we heard is they talk about the concept of what it was, they're planning for Artemis 2. What did it take to deliver that? The new administrators come through where they're looking for more, off-the-shelf devices, allow the iPhones to be on the lunar capsule. The actual cameras that were there were 10-year-old Nikons because they had gone through all of the validation and testing. And Lee really talked through all of that, where he talked about any device that people want to send up there, they've got to look at and understand that it's got to go through shock testing, it's got to go through radiation testing, it's got to go through heat and cold testing. I think they mentioned that the Russians threw GoPros in the space station. All of a sudden, you can see video from there. And if it breaks, who cares? Throw it away, send another one in. I think iPhone's not necessarily as cheap as a GoPro, but still, they also talked about that they don't want any kind of AI or any kind of adjustments because it needs to be as true as possible going all the way through. So no one's doing any kind of upscaling or whatnot. It's got to be the raw, true data as it comes all the way through.
Interesting. You'd mentioned the fact that there's a moon base coming and that this switches at some point from mission to continuous. Mm-hmm. When does that process start? Is it the sort of the 2030 and beyond deadline, or is that the planning that's going on right now?
Kevin, for the moon base, for sure it will be like that. But I think Kevin, his purview is to look at what is that lunar network looking like? Yeah. How does it turn into continuous delivery of internet traffic, no matter where you are on the moon, and far side versus near side? What happens when you need to have, when in the beginning they're going to send the habitats, they're going to send landers, they're going to send rovers, they're going to send a lot of stuff that's not necessarily human based. Those are all going to have cameras, so that's coming sooner than later. The ability to stream and the need to stream content is going to come before
before there's
moon bases. Yeah. Exactly, yeah, because it's safer that way. At least now you can test and make sure everything's working that way. So I think that was another message that has to come through is what kind of camera goes on that thing? How do you make sure that it works the right way for quite a while?
I mean, we're sort of a week out from where you saw this panel at this point. What's the thing you're sort of still thinking about from it? Obviously, you wrote a piece about it, so you're thinking about it a lot. It's not necessarily the most quotable moment, but like, what is the thing that sort of resonates with you that you think people need to understand?
They are working on some amazing, it's the event. It's what it means for all of humanity. It's something amazing. And I think it behooves the industry to jump in and say, not for the sake of their company or for revenue or whatnot, but for the sake of humanity, how do we help them solve a problem with the experience that we have, with the knowledge that we have of the tools that we've used already? How do we bring that to bear so that all of us can benefit and watch and share in this amazing human experience of us reaching another planetary object again?
Awesome. Well, Bhavesh, I mean, thanks for writing the piece up. I really appreciate it. I love that you shared it with me to put out on Engines of Change. I'm honored. Where can people go more about what you're doing? I think of you as a man about the industry out there solving problems, but where should people go learn more about you?
I'm on LinkedIn. Look for Bhavesh Upadhyay on LinkedIn. Hopefully we'll be associated or linked on.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for the piece. I hope everybody enjoys reading it as much as I did. And hopefully they'll come over and learn more about what you're doing on LinkedIn.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Andy.